If this story made your skin crawl, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe for more true stories that don't let you sleep at night. And share this with someone who loves horror. Because the scariest stories are always better when you're not alone.
This story happened a long time ago, and that's for a good reason. My friends and I liked to look around and discover new things. When I was a kid in New Jersey, there were many empty places nearby where we could have fun for a long time. Looking back, a lot of the things we did weren't that great. Just old buildings, empty storage places, things like that. But sometimes we would find something more interesting. We had been noticing an empty middle school for a while, and it was about a 30-minute drive from us. I won't mention the name here to keep it private, but anyone who knows about exploring abandoned places in North Jersey probably understands what I'm referring to. We saw pictures of the place online and thought it was time to go see it for ourselves. It was late summer, and we were getting tired of the same things to do, like playing basketball in my backyard and just driving around with no direction. I don't remember who suggested the idea, but it happened pretty suddenly. There were 4 people with us that night. It was me, Yuri, Frank, and Freddie together. Frank and I liked graffiti, so we took some black and white spray paint with us. Also, the rest of my bag had some Roman candles that I still had from the 4th of July. We always handled these situations in the same way. We would play inside, go up to the roof, set off some fireworks, and then run down before the police showed up. Tonight will be just like any other night. Yuri was driving that evening. He turned onto a side street a little way from the school, and we got out of the car. We walked to the school and were happy to see that the fence around it had been cut. We were ready to jump, but I was happy we didn't have to. The school was really big, much larger than the pictures we saw online. It would have taken a long time to look at everything, but that was okay because the 4 of us easily got bored. Frank went first through the hole, then came Yuri, then me, and finally Freddie. Freddie was the bravest, so he offered to be the last in line. We discovered a door that was open and went inside. Even with our flashlights, it felt spooky. Imagine your old school when you were a child, but with no noise at all. Every hallway had bare wires and broken tiles. There was insulation hanging from the ceiling, and pieces of broken furniture were scattered all around. The entrance we found led to a hallway, and we excitedly started walking through it after turning on our flashlights. We all had really strong flashlights, and we felt proud of them for some reason. When I say strong, I really mean it. Mine cost $60 and could light up a whole room. If you looked at it by accident, it was bright enough to temporarily blind you. It was really expensive for a flashlight, but I believed it was a good deal. The walls were covered in spray paint drawings. Some of it is good, and some of it is very bad. Frank and I stopped occasionally to look at some tags, but mostly we kept walking. I'll skip most of the details about the building, but it was actually really neat. It was cool to see all those seats and a stage that was almost falling apart. We quickly walked around the basement, which was the most worn-out area of the school. We didn't stay down there for long, mostly because I could see that my friends were feeling uneasy. One of the rooms had a big star shape drawn on the floor, and it didn't look very nice. It was scary, but it wasn't strange. Anyone who has explored cities knows these show up all the time. We didn't stick around. The 4 of us finally went up to the 2nd floor. One of the classrooms had a clean white wall, like a blank page. Frank and I smiled and began throwing paint in the air, while Yuri and Freddie said they were going to keep looking around for a way to get to the roof. They went down a dark hallway while we waited and marked our spots. After we finished our work, Frank wanted to continue on another part of the wall. I stepped out of the room to look at some nice art in the hallways. After standing and looking at the art for about 5 minutes, I heard Frank shout from behind me. He sounded mad and asked if I was joking with him. I told him I didn't understand what he meant, and he got mad and told me to stop pretending. Before I understood what he was saying, he said, "I know you took my bag." I promised I didn't do anything and that I had been standing in the hallway the whole time. He trusted me and said something about how it probably was Freddy. To be honest, it was the kind of thing Freddy usually did. We looked around the room with our flashlights to be careful, but we didn't find anything. The bag was missing. We couldn't do much more tagging because we didn't have the bag, which had all the extra paint in it. We went to look for the guys who we thought were on the roof by that time. We went as distant up as the stairs would take us, but tragically they didn't lead to the roof. We meandered the floor capriciously, checking different rooms for a way to the roof. At one point, I walked into a little side room and solidified. There, on the wall, was another pentagram just like the one we had seen in the Velar. Except this one was much more foreboding. It was crisply painted, which I could tell because paint was still dripping down it. And in the corner of the room was Frank's pack, just sitting there. Just then, Frank stepped into the room behind me and quickly noticed what I was looking at. Without skipping a beat, he grabbed his pack off the floor and said in a very loud voice, "What the hell is off wrong with him?" I didn't react. Even as a joke, it seemed like something that crossed the line a little too much, even for Freddy. We left the room and started walking down a random Allinger in silence, just wanting to find our friends. Just then, we heard fast steps rumbling towards us. It was Freddy and Yuri who motioned for us to follow them. We didn't even have time to be pissed at Freddy, we just ran. This is a good rule to live by. If someone tells you to run, you don't stand around and ask questions. That's just plain idiotic. As we ran, Yuri tried to explain what was going on, but I couldn't really get him over all the noise. All I gathered was that we were running from someone, most likely multiple people. The four of us tried to find our way back to the exit, but it was a literal maze in there, especially given the circumstances. Eventually, we stopped to catch our breath at a corner in what felt like a completely different wing of the building. We all agreed that if we just found a random stairwell and went down, we'd eventually find a way out. It didn't sound like there was anyone chasing us, so we decided to move slowly and just be as quiet as possible. After finding a stairwell, we went down a few floors. Once we got to what we all agreed was the ground floor, we started walking through the passage, thinking we were in the clear. But just then, this sharp hissing noise rang out from somewhere before us. A steady, sharp hissing. That's the best way I can describe it. It sounded like someone trying to imitate a cat. The four of us froze, hoping that whoever was down there didn't notice us. But as we were slowly and quietly retreating back the way we had come, a deep voice said something from beyond the darkness before us. He said, word for word, "I should have cut you when I had the chance." We didn't wait another moment, we just ran. This time I could actually hear some pairs of footsteps behind us, which made things 10 times scarier than they had been before.
They were shouting disgusting things behind us. Stuff almost how they were planning to slaughter us and how they had all the exits secured. It was the scariest moment of my life. I thought we were going to have to run back upstairs and cover up some place within the building. But by one means or another Yuri took a turn at the proper minute, and up ahead we saw the initial entryway we'd come through. We kept running indeed after making it exterior. At that point through the fence and all the way back to Yuri's car. Yuri drove off, and indeed, in spite of the fact that we all looked back at the school, there wasn't much we might make out on account of how dim it was. We weren't staying around in spite of the fact that, as we were driving absent, Freddy told us their side of the story. He said that after they fizzled to discover a way to the roof, they had gone down a floor to hunt for us. Clearly, Freddy begun hearing abnormal metallic clinking coming from one of the rooms, which he expected was us. He and Yuri strolled interior and saw 3 cloaked figures sitting in a circle slouched over something on the floor. Concurring to Freddy, it looked like they were playing a few kind of diversion with glass marbles or stones. As before long as they taken note Freddy, they begun scrambling off the floor to chase them. Yuri and Freddy ran back up to the 4th floor to undertake and lose the individuals chasing them, which is where they found us. There were so numerous things that didn't make sense, in spite of the fact that the foremost self-evident address, at slightest the one I had, was why would they toy with us by taking Frank's sack on the off chance that they truly had threatening eagerly. Freddy's hypothesis was that whoever was in there thought we'd never be able to discover our way out. So, they figured they'd toy with us to begin with.
If you're still watching, you're one of us. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more real stories that blur the line between fear and reality. And share this video. You never know who might need the warning.